Boys and girls, we are going to learn how to watercolor paint. You are going to need a watercolor set, a brush, a container of water, some crayons or a crayon, a wash rag or paper towel. Let's learn together. Hello, boys and girls. This is Miss Kroll, and today I'd like to show you a few techniques in watercolor. And before we start, I'd like to show you some of the basic supplies. We have a brush here, a watercolor brush, and the little hairs on the end are called bristles. It holds the water nicely. We have a napkin to blot and dab up some water. We have a glass of water and a watercolor set with the full spectrum here: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple or indigo, and brown and black. Now, boys and girls, we're also going to be doing a bit of a resist with crayon. Crayon acts like a resist against watercolor, so if you color something in with crayon dark enough, it pops the water off the paper and you will see the crayon and the watercolor. All right, boys and girls, let's get started. All right, boys and girls, as you can see, I used some crayons and added some color within each letter. Some I did a variety of colors in a little pattern. Some I switched in the inside. And around my name, I just kind of added some light crayon marks to break up the space a little bit. Just really lightly blending colors together just to give it a soft look and to give us a chance to have a variety of marks on the paper, okay? You don't really have to draw a picture in here. Just be free and enjoy the process. Okay, well, now that I've finished this, I'm going to start working with my paint set, and I'd like you to learn it in the proper manner, okay? So, I'd like you, once you're ready, to pick up the brush and swish your brush inside the glass. You can wipe the edge off so it doesn't drip all over. And what I'd like you to do before we actually paint is I want you to drip a drop in each one of these colors so that it softens the pigment, the color inside this little cup, these little cakes of color. Okay, now I dripped a little bit. Now I don't want to drip throughout my whole painting. So now that my colors are wet, they will work because this is actually a watercolor painting and the pigment, the color needs to be wet. Okay, I'm going to start. I'm going to start in the letter M. But I'd like to start with yellow. I want you to try to start with the lightest color first. And I'm going to go inside the letter, and you can see that when I bring the yellow inside that M, that red crayon mark doesn't disappear. So I kind of like that look, and I'm going to go a little bit outside the M. I'm going to add a little more water, go back into the color. Now on this section, I'm just going to add a little yellow, a little bit more water, dip it in the yellow, pick it up, and move it over. And I'm going to do one little section in yellow. Choose a few spots to work with yellow. Here we go. Yellow. I might add a little more yellow at the top of my page too. And I just want to go to the edge of the paper because we want to paint all the paper. Now you can see everywhere that I used crayon still shows. And maybe a little bit more yellow here over this dot. There we go. I'm going to wash my brush, swish, 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 wipe it off, And now I'd like you to try a little orange, the next lightest color here. And I'm going to go around this K and down, filling it in, working my way over, getting a little bit more water, and bringing it to the bottom. So I'm working on cleaning a brush, wiping a brush, picking a color and staying within that color, and watercoloring over my crayon work. So I think I'd like a little orange up here. Now you don't have to always go to the edge of the page. You could stop anywhere you'd like. Oops, I think I want to have a little orange over here. I'm not really going over my other colors right now. All right, boys and girls. Now I'm going to move to the next color, which is a little bit darker. I'm going to go to the red. This red is awfully dark because it's been sitting in there for a long time. I'm not mashing the brush down. I'm not crushing it. I'm being very careful. And I'm just carefully moving the paint around my paper. I'm not going over my orange. I'm just going to red. And I'm making some different shapes on my paper. Trying to be neat, and I'm trying not to push these bristles down too far. You want to be very careful with the bristles, those little hairs at the end of your brush, so that you're not breaking them, because you can ruin a brush pretty quickly by being too hard. All right, boys and girls. Next color, let's start getting into those darker colors. I'm going to try my green. All right, boys and girls, you're going to go through the whole entire palette of color, and you're going to keep your colors clean by always washing your brush before you go into a new color. Enjoy yourself. Don't stress. Just enjoy yourself and try to manage your paint set in a neat manner. And enjoy your creativity. I can't wait to see your finished work. Once your work is completely painted in, over the letters, around the letters, all the way to the edges of your paper, you can do a little bit of layering over another color once the paper is dry. So this yellow and this orange are pretty dry. So I'm just going to dip into, let's say, blue. And I'm going to just detail a little bit over this orange with blue with some little tiny dots of paint. And I can set up a pattern pretty nicely with simple dots. Or maybe I could use some diagonal lines. You can really make your painting even more interesting when you're adding color over color. Because the colors are dried already, you're not really going to get much of a mix. You might get some. We could try a little section. You can see that it's starting to soak into the paper. And the tip of the brush almost looks like a little raindrop. Tiny little marks that almost look like little bananas. Those are funny. Over the yellow to add some interest and variety in your work. When people look at your artwork and walk by, you want to draw them in with something curious and interesting. Looks like a river. And I'm going to choose other spots that are dry and just add a little bit more here. And I'd like to balance it by adding more on the top and on this side. All right, boys and girls, enjoy yourself. Remember, try to keep your set nice and clean. Always wash your brush. And don't give your brush a bad hair day by mashing it down. Thank you, boys and girls. Might be important to take a napkin or cloth and soak up any extra water. If there's just too much water on your paper, and you just dab it carefully. Don't smear it, just dab it carefully. Thank you, boys and girls.